Hi, welcome again. So today we are going to learn about the various operations which we can do after creating a table. Sometimes we need to modify the table structure. Sometimes we have to remove some columns which we should not be added in the starting. And we forget some column and we want to push it after creation of the table. So or maybe you want to rename, maybe we have given department underscore name and we want to name it department name without underscore. So it can be renaming, it can be adding a column, removing a column. We will also see how do we remove the data from the table. How do we make the table empty, absolutely empty? So how the delete happens? One thing is deleting the data. Few more things with the tables is what we can do is update. Suppose we change our phone number sometimes, we change our address. So these operations are we called DML. Here we are manipulating the data manipulating language, DML commands. What is DDL? So DD is also one type of commands where we say data definition language, where we are defining the table structure, we are defining, is base structure. We are defining. If you're manipulating, it's a DML. So there are two types of command. Okay. Now, so we'll be learning today modifying a table, updating, deleting its data, deleting the tables. Now, most of my students get confused between deleting the data inside the table or deleting the table. So let me give you one small example. Deleting the data inside, what is inside the house? How many members are living there? Suppose you have a rented house. And you are given, it's your own house and you are given for the rent. Okay, people are every 6 months, new people comes in, the existing people goes out and you sign a new contract for your house. So in that case, you are updating the contract with the new tenant information. Your house is still the same, but your tenant information, definitely there will be one type of tenant, means one family or one person or two persons, right? But your house number is same, your property address is same, everything about that house is same, furniture if you have. The only thing will change is tenant, okay, and the contract. So you are updating the contract information. So now understand the very simple example with this. So your table is nothing but your house. Your data is nothing but the tenant, which are keep changing if they are changeable. Sometimes you have a long contract, so it's fine. As long as they are, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. So now we understood deleting the data means we are just letting the existing tenant out. We are letting that go. We are not deleting the table. We are not demolish the house, right? House is still there. What we are doing, we are deleting the data. We are letting that existing tenant go. Okay. Now suppose, what is deleting also in terms of a normal English? Deleting a table. So whenever we add a delete word in front of anything, we think it's demolishing that particular entity, maybe, So deleting is a logical word. So in a SQL server, if you want that table should not exist in the database, the table itself should demolish, should not have its existence, should be disappear from the database. That term is called in SQL Server drop. Okay, so I hope you understood. Drop means removing, taking the table out and wiping it out. Everything about the table, everything. That is a drop object. Means we are dropping the object. Means completely removing from the database. It can be any object. Right now it's a table because we are learning table. Now deleting means we are what's inside the table, we are deleting the data, not the table. Table is still there as an empty entity. When we say delete, we are referring inside like a tenant in the house. We are letting them go, but still the house is there. I hope you remember this concept, because why I took time to explain delete and drop, because most of my students get confused between delete and drop. They try to mix it up. They think they are deleting the table means the table will go. They will not be able to insert the data into the table. Okay. So that's what I gave this example. If you want the table to disappear, you use drop. Okay. Okay. So now let's see some of the operations what we can do with the table. Adding a new column. Suppose you have created a table. After that, you remember, oh, you forget to add one column. So how you can do that? By using the simple syntax, by following the simple syntax. How the syntax goes is, whenever we try to modify an object which is already there, how do we start? Alter, A-L-T-E-R, alter table, table name, and then add column, column name, data type. So let me copy this. I hope you remember this. We created employee 4 in our previous session. If not, we can do it again as employee 5. So you can see it here. There is no harm in recreating this. Okay, so I'm creating in front of you employee 6 with these 3 things done. Now employee 6 table is exist. You can refresh. Done. Now I'm going to what I copied from my blog. I'm referring here. You can follow that blog in the blog link. I will be putting that link. You can refer that same document content in our website's blog. Okay. Now here I'm going to put that table name, alter table, table name. Okay. Now here I wanted to add, let's say I forget to add salary. And I have to define the data type. But before that, let me at least show you that table. Otherwise you will say what, let me at least see the table, Right now you see 3 columns empty. I have not put any rows. If you want, I can put some row. So at least you will know that I'm doing an operation in an existing table. Okay. One entry is there. Now let me show you this entry. Okay, now you can see. Okay, now I'm going to modify. I'm going to add one more column called salary. Data type is a money data type. Let's add it. Done. Okay. Now let me run it again. The select statement. Now here there is a column. Suppose, can I add something with the default constraint? Means I want to supply default because it's existing table and I want to supply something value for the rows which was already inserted, right? For the future row, definitely we can, do. So what is the way to deal with it? Either you can perform the update operation for each and every row, or you can use default constraint. Okay. So we'll learn that in update, but let's continue the other operations what we can do. Okay. So adding a new column, then yeah, it's the same thing with the null. Then modifying a column's data types. Suppose by mistake you have given some data type and you wanted to change it. So how? Alter table, table name, alter column name. Basically, we have to specify column, alter column, column name, and new data type. So here, the same way, suppose instead of money, we wanted to give decimal. So we can, remember, this happens when this column is exist. That time we have to give alter column. It's not add. Add is something when we give as if for a new column we wanted to add. Here in this example, we are trying to learn for an existing columns how to modify the data types for that particular column. Okay, so the syntax goes alter table, table name, alter column, column name, and the new data types. It's very simple as that. Now, there are few conflicts. What are those? Does your new data type supports the existing data which was inserted before you modify this as a new data types? In the real time, when you actually perform, you have to do a smoke test. What is a smoke test? That also we'll learn in some other videos about the different types of testings, what a database developer should do before performing any operation or sending the code to the next level, which is nothing but a higher environments. What are the environments? We'll also make one video on that. What is the different three environments, prod, QA, UAT, dev. I'll talk about in those videos if you're interested. I'll make those videos. You can comment it if you wanted to know. And you wanted me to make that on very soon. Okay. So I hope with this example, you can see how to modify an existing data type of an existing column. Okay. Let's see. Now this is renaming a column. Suppose you think you have given a name, now you want to change it. So how the definition goes? Using the sp underscore rename. Now you must be thinking, what is these two things? Sp underscore exec, exec, what it is? It is a syntax to execute the stored procedure. Now, what is the stored procedure? So stored procedure is a set of command. We can put, set of commands inside the one name, and then set of SQL queries, which perform some action, and we name it. We call it a stored procedure. We can also create, but this is created by Microsoft. So Microsoft says, I know how to rename the table which you have created. What do you do? You call this procedure, supply the parameters. What are the parameters? Just supplying the value after putting the values after the procedure names. Exec is a keyword to call any procedure. So there are two types of procedure, which we will also learn in our future videos. Right now, this is a system created procedures, which is created by Microsoft. So in the first parameter, in the first positioning, we will be writing the table name dot the column name, which we want to rename. After the comma, we'll put the new column name. And then in the third parameter, we'll pass hard code as a column that we wanted to rename as a column. We don't want to rename the table. We don't want to do something else. What we wanted to do, we wanted to rename the column. Okay. So how the syntax goes. Execute sp underscore rename employees dot city. Instead of city, they want location. So let's try. We'll try, instead of age, we'll say new age or something, So let me copy this here. Let me put that age here, and here I'll say new age. Okay, perfect. Let me show you. So that before you will say what you have. In employee 6, you have employee ID, name, age, and salary. Okay. I'm going to rename age with new age, just to give you some example. It can be anything. So I'm going to just select that particular line, and I have supplied 3 values as the 3 parameters. Table name dot column, new column name which you wanted to give, and the third parameter is the column. Okay. Okay, it's saying, cannot rename because, that's also a good thing. Let me see. Cannot rename because the object participant in enforced dependencies. What does it mean? It's saying it has a constraints. You have applied a constraint, so you can't rename. So whenever we have a constraints, we face this kind of challenges. So it's a good example that this came up. We have set some constraint on it. So let's try to change maybe maybe name, okay, instead of, because it's a constraint. So we have to disable the constraint and then we can do it, but that will be on the next level of your technical understanding. So let's do a simpler one. Okay, so instead of, name, I will pick name and I will say first name. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's done. Okay, so let me now done it. Okay, select star from employee 6. Now you can see instead of name, it's a first name. So some of you might be thinking, oh, why earlier example didn't work? Okay, let me do that. Let me do that also. That's not a problem. Okay, I can drop a constraint or I can disable the constraint also. How can I drop the constraints? Let me refresh. Refresh table, constraint. There is a check constraint. I'm going to delete it. Okay. This is the simplest way. I can do it using a script, but it will be next level for your learning. So let's see a simple way of deleting the constraint. Okay. Delete, done. Now I'm going to perform the same thing which we were performing. Let's see this time what it says. Okay. It accepts. So there is some certain problem with dealing with constraints when you want to rename. Make sure either you drop and recreate if you wanted to rename those columns. So it's a good new learning for us, right? Okay, so now let's see the tables. Okay. Now we have renamed these two things. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that is done. Let me see. Adding a primary key. Adding a primary key after you forget to define the primary key and you have created a table. And primary key is so much important. For each and every table must have a primary key. That's one of the rule of EF code. So if you forget and you wanted to give a primary key to some column, what is the criteria you should satisfy before you do that? The rule of primary key says that particular column values, or maybe the way you define that column, it has to be not null, because it should not allow null. You remember two things about the primary key? Has to be not null, it has to be unique. That's the quality of primary key. It's an interview question. Okay, so if you wanted to add a primary key into existing table, you can say alter table, table name, add constraint, name of the constraint, anything whichever you like, then primary key, and then column name. This is how it goes. Alter table employees, PK employees, it's the name of the constraint. We can give anything, whatever you like, but start with the constraint. Suppose it's a default constraint, then you give df. If it is a check constraint, you give ck. Oh, sorry. Yeah, ck. It's a ck is fine. It represents check constraint. Yeah. Then whatever whatever constraint you wanted to define. So you can also add constraints after creating a table, but it's not a good practice. It's better that you create them on when you create the tables. But sometimes business realize later that they have to force some constraint to the existing tables. In that case, SQL Server still supports allowing you to apply constraint into the existing table. This is also an interview question. Can we apply constraints on an existing tables? Then your answer should be yes, we can. Okay, adding a foreign key. Now, foreign key, to understand the foreign key, it's a good that we will spend some time here. Understand the foreign key. You remember parent and child relationship when we understand 6 types of constraint in a different video in the previous videos? Okay. So for a foreign key is referring the data is not belongs to local. The data is coming from some other land, some other entity. That is a foreign, right? Does not belong here. It's a foreign. It's a foreign to that particular value. Okay. Now for that we have to understand the parent and child relationship. Okay. The child depends on a parent. A child cannot exist if parent doesn't. Hmm? I hope you got it. So let's understand with the two tables of examples which my team has prepared. Okay, so here we are going to show you that example with two tables, customers and orders. So if a order get placed, it is placed by a customer. Okay, order does not come on the air. It has to be placed by a customer. So in customer becomes a master table here. The customer has to exist to place an order. You can't just randomly get an order. It has to come from a customer. In a customer table, we have customer ID and customer name. In the order table, you can see, this is the first time we are relating two tables and trying to understand two tables together. Before that, we only create a single tables, okay? So this is our first simple example of playing with the two tables. Create tables order, and here we have, you see, order ID, which is a primary key. You can see order ID, which is a primary key of order table. Customer ID is a primary key of customer table. Every table must have its own primary key. I hope you can remember that. Okay, so that's a criteria to have a table in the database. You must have a primary key. It's not a rule. It's not mandatory that you should have. It's a good practice that every table should have a primary key so that we can have a uniqueness across the table. Okay. There are some scenarios where we have to go with without the primary key also, but we will talk about those scenarios in our future videos. Okay, now, okay, let's create these two tables. Okay, so I'm creating them under demo DB. Done. Okay, done. Right now, both are not linked. Both are not linked. Okay, both are not connected. Okay, they are just see them. Okay, see them once more time. Customer ID and customer name. This is a master data. Okay, means we can call that as a master table. This we can call it the child table. Okay, right now are we relating with some keywords? No, it's just a logical representation of relating with one of the column. What is that column? Customer ID. We think that child should have some reference to the parent table to hold the data so we can identify the related information of parent. Because in the customer table, we can't store all the orders. Customer tables is only about the customers, what we have. A customer may place 20 or thousands of orders in a year. So definitely we can't have all the information in customer tables, right? Customer tables is about the customers. Order tables is about the order. Again, in the order table, we can't store all the information about the customer in the orders table. Orders table is about the orders. This is we call normalization. So we'll also learn this normalization concept. There are three forms, basically four, but three are most commonly used. We'll also learn that normalization into the separate videos. But right now, we are trying to relate two tables. Okay. So keeping that in my mind that I need some data in the child table related to the customer. So I'm having a space for that particular value in orders table. I'm just leaving a space. I'm just making one space so that value will come, that who has placed that order. So I will know, oh, that customer belongs to this has placed an order. Maybe that's order ID and that's the order, right? A customer has placed 3 orders. Okay. Now this row will have this table will have 1 row. James, customer ID is 101, let's say. An order table has 3 orders. So the customer ID remains the same in the child table, and then there will be 3 rows inside the order because that customer has placed 3 orders. So order ID 1, 1, 2, 3, same date, and the customer ID is repeated. It will repeat. It will duplicate. So foreign key is not that it can't duplicate. Foreign key is meant for referring the data. We are not forcing it that it can't have duplicate. It has to have, because it's a one-to-many relationship. We'll also understand the relationships, different cardinalities. What is a cardinalities? We will learn that in a different, maybe some other videos. Okay. So here we are trying to learn foreign key, and so to become, and how do we make relationship between these two? Somewhere we have to justify that relationship. We have to tell SQL Server we want to relate master with the child. So how do we do that? How master and child will actually sync up? How do we want to force it that if this child table will have a data, make sure that this child refers and check into the main parent table that particular thing is available or not, then only it can store the data. A customer has to be available for placing an order. It's very simple as that. Before a child is born, its parents should be there, should exist. So it's the same thing. So we are forcing that nobody can insert the data into the child table without checking that that particular data, reference data, is available in the parent or not. That's a parent-child relationship. So we wanted to enforce that constraint. To solve that problem only, the foreign key came into picture. So let's see. Syntax of adding a foreign key. It's very simple. Alter table name, add constraint fk underscore constraint name, foreign key column name, reference parent table, and then column name. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to copy this syntax and will explain in SQL Server. You can read more theoretical part in our blog, on our website blog, which link is below. Let me decrease some size so you can see both the tables together. Okay, it's important. Let me see if I can increase a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, you can see in one frame. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you are by now you are familiar with both the tables, customers and orders. Okay. Here in the third thing, we are going to say alter table name. It means we wanted to modify this child table. We wanted to add constraint to the child, definitely, because we want child table to refer one of the column value from the parent. We want to make a relationship. Okay, so we say add constraint. If our constraint is foreign key, then we start with fk. If our constraint is default constraint, we start with df. Okay, or default. Check constraint ck. Primary key pk. So there are some naming convention is good. If you can give and follow the standards, your work should be professional, and your work speaks about how you learn things. So do not just give some dummy values or dummy names. Always think about, if somebody sees this name, can they get it what this belongs to? Fk means foreign key. DF means default constraint, right? So by seeing the short abbreviations, people will understand your standards, that you have learned something professionally. Okay. Now, the add constraint name, it can be anything, by the way. SQL Server will not force. SQL Server is different. It does not care what even you follow standards or not, it does not care. You can give anything. Okay. But your seniors and the person who is reviewing your code will try to look for the standards. Foreign key. So that's our constraint keyword. After foreign key, we are saying customer ID. This customer ID here, this table here, this particular line belongs to this table, orders table here. Now, after we are saying references, what we are saying references, that's the fourth keyword to use in existing table, how to add constraint. We can also create constraint, foreign constraint while creating the orders table, okay? Okay, so we say reference. Now we want references. Now we wanted to specify who is the parent. We have to specify the name of the table, okay? What is our table name? Customers. We want to say, yes, we want to refer. We want to refer this customer ID column belongs to this orders, should point to customer tables, customer ID. So what we are saying this customer ID, we want to get referred here. It should have reference from this table. So we are defining the name here. We are referring these columns here, but this line belongs to this. Okay. So I hope you understood that. Now I'm going to select and create that. Done. Done with no errors. Now, many of my students, when they will learn, basics of simple examples, and when they actually go into the real projects, then there is a story has been changed a little bit. I'll tell you what it is. Now we have created a relationship between two tables. So for this example, just to make you understand, I have given the same name. I have given the same name for both the columns. But it is not mandatory. It is not mandatory. It is not guaranteed that both the names should have the same. Just for the reference, just for our more easiness or more comfortable we are trying to give the same name. But this name can be, it can be anything. Let me say this. So the name can be different, doesn't matter for the foreign key. Here we define that which column we are referring from this table, which column we are referring from master table, parent table. So the way we define here, that is important. This name does not has to be the same. Okay. One of my students get so much confused about this when he actually see the real project, and he was saying, oh, these names are not same. How they can be the foreign key, to the child table? I said, no, it's where it is written. There is no rule that it has to be same name. For your understanding, I give this simple example. It doesn't mean in the real world you might find this as a department ID, So let's why don't we try, Why don't we try? Let me copy the same example and show you with the different examples. Now I'll give this is department. Sorry. This I'll give employee. Okay. Let me change department ID. Okay. For now, I'll just give this as a name. Here I'll give employee ID and as a primary key, and here I'll give remove the date just for your reference. Okay. Here I wanted to say DID. Now I want this to refer this. Or maybe I wanted to see DEPT underscore ID. This also I can do. There is no problem. Both are different, right? But let me go with the DID. Okay. Or I can say DEPT NO. Let me go more with the DEPT NO. Anything. Now, both the columns are different. Okay. But we are going to relate now. We are going to relate parent with child with one of the column referring to. Okay. So here I'll say I wanted to add that constant in employee. I wanted to say employee and EPT and number something, it can be anything, a constraint name foreign key. This time I'll say I want this. I want to create a foreign key for this particular column. References. Now I'll talk about parent. Okay. Now I'll say, oh, I wanted to connect this column with this particular table and this particular column. Now you can see both are different. Name is different. Name can be different. But what is the another important thing about foreign key? The name can be different, but the data type has to be same. Otherwise, how do you assume to store the same values into two different tables and two different columns? At least for the more compatibility, you should have the same data types. What is the most important thing? The data type should be same. So your interview question can be, can a foreign key can have different name compared to the parent? So your question should be yes. Then he will ask second question. If you say yes, he or she will ask, can a different data type can be a good foreign key? Can you give a foreign key when the data types are not matching? So to think about those, how do you think about it when you actually experience it by creating more and more examples? Okay. So learn with us, be with us, attend our weekly sessions, and then we comes and we give, free sessions on every week, for the SQL learning. We do many webinars and other things. We have a big team. We have big coaches, six to seven coaches right now, who is teaching across many countries. Many different one-to-ones also, and many different batches they run. Okay. So join whatever you can. Okay. Now let me create this. Okay. So you see, I created a department employee and it's done. There is no error. You can see there is no error. It is successfully created. Okay. Okay. So now let's see something also in the table section. Employee department. Let me go into the employee section. Let me go to the constraint. Sorry, no. Let me go to the keys. You see foreign key. Foreign key is a primary key, is a part of the keys, not more than the constraint. They are the part of the keys. We call it keys, foreign key, primary keys, right? So they are actually keys. You can see whatever the name you have given that is coming, whatever name you have given, right? This is the master table. This is the child. I hope you got the foreign key and primary key. Okay, so let's see what else we can do. Removing a constraint. Suppose we just now, I right-clicked and deleted it. You remember when I was trying to insert, when I'm trying to rename one of the tables column, right? The constraint was giving me problem. I deleted. Again, I can recreate after my rename is done. Okay. Here, how do you remove a constraint without, if you don't have permission to right-click and do those? How do you send those commands to the servers? Alter table name, drop constraint name. For that, you need to know the constraint name. Now, this is why I say make sure what's the constraint names you are giving. It has to be proper, organized, standard. It's easier to give when you have this like that. When you don't have, you will create a constraint like this, constraint name like this, PQD, put some numbers. These are the hexadecimal number. There is a different strategy in mathematics behind that. We will understand that into some other videos. You don't need to worry. But if you don't give a constraint name, it will, SQL Server automatically create a constraint name if you don't give it. You just say primary key, employee ID in primary key, that's it. Then SQL Server gives some name, as per its own understanding. Okay. Okay, perfect. So make sure you follow the standards. Then we can simply say drop constraint and constraint name, it will get dropped. Okay. Now dropping a column. So dropping a column is nothing but alter table name, drop column name. It's very simple as that. Now here let's understand a little bit. You remember difference what I said between the delete and drop? So drop is something, demolish that thing. It should get disappear. We should not even need that into our table in our entities. That time we use drop. Drop is something which is demolishing, which is wiping out that particular thing which we are giving for drop. So we are saying we don't need that column anymore. We want to take that out column. Okay. In that case, we will say drop. Alter table, table name, drop column, column name. Means that column will be removed from the table. Now, it is what many students understand. Deleting a table. They say, oh, I don't know, I want to delete this, I want to recreate it. So what they will use, this is why I put that line, delete a table. So they say, oh, I wanted to delete the table. So in the SQL Server, there is no delete the table. Delete the table means you are referring the deleting the data. You remember the tenant example? So in SQL Server, if you want to remove some object from your database, you call it drop. Okay. So we say drop table, table name. Now it will be taken out from your database. Now update. So this is another operation, right? So now you wanted to update your contract. Your tenant has been changed, and you wanted to form a new contract for your tenant. So in that way, you wanted to update some information. In the same way, once you insert some data and you wanted to perform modification to that data, that we call update. Let's do that. So update is basically a conditional. Suppose we can update entire column, all the rows in the table. We can also update conditionally. What are the rows out of, let's say we have 10 rows. And we only wanted to update a specific employee ID, a specific row. We can also do conditional update. That is, we call conditional update. And if you want to update the entire column values, we can also do without where condition. So this is the first time you are seeing the where. So where is something which perform row by row operations. Okay, so let's see this. Yeah, before that, I'll also I'll show you at least the data which we got inserted, I think, into employee 6 or employee 2. Yeah, let's see employee 2. So at least I wanted to show you what is how where work. Okay, in that suppose we only want out of 2 rows, we only want the row number 2. So how we can say where employee ID equal to 2. We only wanted to see the data out of 2 rows. We only wanted to see where employee ID equal to 4. Sorry, we have only 3 and 4. So I have to supply the value which is available. Otherwise, nothing will return. So where is nothing but I used Control Shift and U to make lowercase to uppercase. Okay. So let me execute. So now you see, out of 2 rows, I can get only 1 row. So that's the power of where condition. Now we understood where will return what we need out of all rows. Suppose we don't use where, if we only run select star from, then we will get all the rows. In the same way, we wanted to update the specific row, then we have to perform where condition. Okay. Now, in our example, in this example, we are updating based on the employee ID 1. Here, I wanted to update where we have 4. I wanted to update James instead of Ram. Okay. So let's say, how do we write it? I would have copied it, but it's fine. Let's say update table name. Now it says, okay, the syntax goes update and then table name, and then it says set, means which column you wanted to update. I wanted to say, yes, I wanted to update name, and I wanted to set it up as James instead of Vijay. So it doesn't matter what's there in the old value, it will update. And I want to say where employee ID equal to 4. Right now, where there is a 4, there is a Ram. Okay, instead of Ram, I wanted to update with James, or maybe let's say my name so you can remember easy. Instead of Vijay, I wanted to update here James. Okay, let's do. Done. Now let me run. Set star from employee 2. You see, James is updated. Suppose I wanted to update without the where condition. In what scenarios we can do? Let's say if we have some scenarios where we wanted to give hike to the employees on the Christmas, maybe on some occasion. We want to give 10% hike to all the employees. Then do we need a where condition? No. We wanted to update the entire table, entire column of that table. So we can do salary multiply by 10 divided by 100 plus salary, means 10% adding to the salary and then updating the amount. In that condition, we can simply say update employee to set salary equal to expression, which I just said. That's it, no where class. It will update the entire table for all the rows. So it depends. Updates depends on do we need to perform the conditional update on the specific rows? It can be more than one. Depends on our where condition. So we in the set, and another questions which my student asked when I gave these examples. They think, so I don't start with the complex example, generally. You will see in our future videos. I will talk about the advanced level also. But before you reach there, you need to understand the basics. Here, you are seeing a simple update examples. The update can be written in a many different ways. Let's say you can also update 3 to 4 all the columns except the primary key. Don't update the primary key because it's based on that only you are updating. So you can update as many as column you want, you put using the comma. You see, you can update. There is no problem. You can update multiple times, but you are referring a primary key, so it makes sure that okay, you are updating that specific based on the specific key, so it's fine. You can update as many columns you want. In the future, we will also do update using joins. We'll also do update using many inside the procedures and many other things, in the future. But for now, this is the simplest example of update I can give you. Okay. Okay, let's see what else. So you can see before update here in this example, if you follow the blog and you wanted to copy and you are following everything from the top to bottom, these are the examples you will see, which team has prepared. You can also see the theoretical statements if you are wanted to be well versed with every keywords, well versed with how you should answer in interviews. Okay, keep reading those theories. Difference between alter table 8 column and alter table alter column, you see. So those kind of questions can come, so make sure you follow and cover that up using our blogs. Okay, important interview questions also we have mentioned in our blog. So make sure if you are covering that part, renaming, altering, then you know these kind of common questions also can be asked in your interviews. And if you are well prepared in advance, nobody can stop you to getting a job in SQL Server as a SQL developer. Okay, so I think that's it about the different various operation of a table. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.